Right, okay, so hi everyone. Welcome to our SaaS Leaders series. My name is Paul Foster and I head up Skylan Recruitment. In this series, what I try to do is really shine the spotlight on unique individuals that have really had a huge contribution into the B2B SaaS market space. And today I'm really happy to say that we've got a guy that's no stranger to this space. He's been very influential in taking 10 tech companies global. He's taken businesses from 0 revenue to 10 million in under 2 years. And subsequently, he's actually grown sales teams from 5 to 40 staff, which is difficult, as we all know. So I'm delighted to have Ivan on the call today. How you doing, Ivan?
Hi, good morning, Paul. Nice to be here.
Thanks ever so much for joining us. So Ivan, as I say, you're no stranger to this space. I'm really keen to understand, when did you first actually get into the SaaS sector, the SaaS space?
Yeah, so it's a good question. I guess really, I've been a user of various software platforms really since way back in 1993.
All right.
Especially some that have been sort of very heavily data driven in financial services. And I sort of early on, I realized the benefits that, data really brings to every business.
Yeah.
But I've actually been an end user of SaaS since 2002. Quite an odd story, really, with a particular fintech solution. Just as an end user in a particular business. But I actually started selling SaaS 10 years after that in 2012.
Okay.
With strangely enough, the original founder of that fintech solution.
Yeah.
But it was actually in a new SaaS product using newer technology, Microsoft Dynamics. So it was quite strange, starting out being an end user of a particular product and then actually, getting into the world and selling it with a founder of, the actual business sort of 10 years later.
That gives you a good insight to be able to be on both sides.
Very much so.
And throughout your history, certainly your career, you've always been involved with early stage B2B SaaS startups. So the question has to be, what's the actual attraction to that type of business?
Yeah, I guess for me, really, the business opportunity that exists is always very exciting. I think the constant rapid learning curve is personally very interesting to me.
Yeah.
Sort of being a lifelong learner in many ways, but I think also being surrounded by new blood that have actually been born, if you like, from the tech generation itself. Obviously, I'm a little bit older,
yeah.
On that side, and I guess really, the daily sort of new ideas and how to deal or find solutions to very new, sometimes complex challenges as well.
Yeah, so fast growing, and I suppose change is the one constant. So now you're heading up, and you're the VP of Sales for a French-based AI sales enablement platform, Tilkee. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah.
Tilkee. Can you tell us a little bit more about that platform?
Yeah, so it's a simple SaaS platform. I personally love the tech. It's really easy to use, and it genuinely helps salespeople and marketers in real time in their own roles. It alerts them when and how the prospects or clients interact with any collateral type they send via any channel, and ultimately it boosts. It can boost the conversion rates and really shorten the sales cycle. I think probably, for the company itself, they're very well backed. They're very open to new approaches to gain market traction, for example, from opening new international offices to even looking at purchasing companies in new markets, to gain speed of entry.
Brilliant.
I think probably lastly, just really being part of an experienced team that already have other successful exits under their belts. I think that counts for a lot, in the startup world from an experience point of view.
Perfect. And then in terms of your a sweet spot of a client, are you aiming more enterprise, mid-market, or literally anyone that's got a sales and marketing function?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I typically for the UK office, we are targeting sort of enterprise level clients. So ideally, companies that might have 100 plus salespeople in the organisations. But that said, the platform itself lends itself really easily to catering for small to mid-sized businesses as well. And ultimately, it's not just about the sales function or the marketing function in the business. It's really about the process that drives client interactions, from the very first time you'll send out maybe a proposal all the way through to tracking interactions, other stakeholders that might become involved in the process, and even later on contract signing, e-signature, and even invoice tracking, to ensure that revenue is brought into the business.
Sounds a good platform. What would you say are the actual the key challenges, being it a French-based SaaS platform? What are the key challenges taking that product to the UK market?
Yeah, I think with any new venture, there's always many challenges around market entry, brand visibility, timing is very important, and obviously market fit as well, especially where there might be cultural differences across international markets. But I think having the right team on board is crucial, especially if they've opened new markets before. And I think for Tilkee, they've already they've got a proven 5-year trading pedigree. They've got over 5,000 clients, and many of them include enterprise level, successful case studies. So I think Tilkee really is well positioned to have, an impact in the UK markets, especially.
Strong proposition. And then in terms of, if you think about when you first started selling into the SaaS landscape, one would assume you've seen quite a few changes. But in terms of taking a product to the market when you're working at early stage, let's face it, if you haven't got the brand recognition, you're not a huge player at this stage. What do you feel are the advantages or disadvantages as a sales function taking it to clients?
Well, I think some probably obvious disadvantages are lack of awareness of the company and the solution itself. Definitely fear over deliverability, with a new company, and also the longevity as well. But I think often that can be outweighed by simply trusting experienced people within the business, and also embracing new technology, which more of us have become accustomed to doing nowadays. And it's also very often rewarding to be the first to try and succeed, especially when people and companies genuinely get great results.
Perfect. And then going back to my question, I kind of alluded to it. The landscape's changed undoubtedly and is continuously changing. Do you feel that you've had to change your sales approach? If you think back to when you first got into the sector versus now, have you had to change your route to market or your sales approach to keep up, to be more creative?
Yeah, I think if you go back sort of 10 to 15 years ago, there were often detractors in most areas, especially when it came to technology. But I think technology changes at such a rapid pace. There's always competition for new entrants, which is a good thing. Obviously, that pushes the bar up for everybody. And I think in reality now that most people use some form of tech, in their daily lives, from mobiles and apps, etc. I think it really makes us all demand more as well. Personally, I really look forward to the introduction of 5G sort of later this year, next year. I do believe that's going to be the next generation of technology across many industries to come, really.
Brilliant. Now, you've been on the front line in growing teams, as I mentioned earlier, taking a team from 5 to 40. That can be a very big challenge. If you was to think about some advice that some of our viewers, perhaps they're founders of a SaaS business, they may be the CEO, and they're looking to really drive that function, what do you think they should be looking for when it comes to the type of sales individual they need to really push their business forward?
That's a great, I guess, $1 million question, really, and a lot of
job
instances.
exists. Yeah.
Absolutely, but I think putting, I guess, my old financial services hat on, and understanding the business side of things. The reality is 98% of startups do fail during the first 2 to 5 years, and that's regardless of the funding or the business model, etc. And it's usually because the founders actually fall out, which is a known stat.
Yeah.
But personally, I'd suggest to look for long-term perspective, and also experience of rough rides as well, as we don't always take enough learning or value, especially in the UK, compared to what they do in the US with that. Success and failures can come from many reasons, but I do think rough rides do breed what I consider as adaptable survivors. And having personally seen the other side of 2 recessions, and as you mentioned, been part of 10 startups, I think that's extremely valuable skill set. I think for senior sort of roles in any startup environment.
And that certainly give you the tools you need to move forward. As I say, it's definitely fast moving. So thanks ever so much for joining us on today's series, Ivan. I look forward to catching up with you in the future, and good luck with Tilkee.
Yeah, thanks very much, Paul, and thanks for talking today as well. It's always good to catch up.
Take care.
All the best.